what hope in action looks like and how you can apply that to yourself and apply that to everyone around you.
Hello and welcome to Coil Coaching, Thriving One podcast. So good to be with you guys today. We've got a great topic for you. Before we get started, though, we just want to say happy holidays. It's December. Lots of birthdays. Lots this month for us. Lots of birthdays. Lots of parties. So we just pray that you are having a phenomenal Christmas season. Listen to lots of Christmas music. That's all I got to say. Enjoy. Listen to lots of Christmas music. We want to just catch up on what's going on.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and share, babe? What's going on with Coil Coaching Women?
We just had our end of the year celebration for Coil Coaching Women. So lots to be thankful for in 9 months. We have grown from 0 to, in 9 months, having 390 something women representing 33 countries, nations. Cool. So thankful. And obviously there's so many more statistics, but if you are interested, in wanting that community, wherever you are, this is a global online community. You can join us on our Facebook group. Just go find Coil Coaching Women. And then also, if you want more information, you can go to our website. There's still lots of stuff happening this December. And obviously, there's more coming for next year. So exciting. We would love to have you.
Yeah, so good. Love it. We also have we're taking new clients right now. So if you're interested in needing some coaching, consulting, counseling, we're taking new clients. So reach out to us. You can find us at coilcoachinginfo.com, or you can go to our website, coilcoaching.com, and reach out to us there. All of our information is there. Our Kingdomize One program is getting through just the middle portion of it. We're really excited. It's been phenomenal. I love seeing people's lives get transformed, informed, and empowered to be who they want to be, who we want to be. So we'll be sharing more information as the next session will happen here this upcoming year, this next year. So, but it's going good. Excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Love it. Yes. So today, what are we talking about?
We are, since it's the holiday season, we just had Thanksgiving here in America, and now we're going into the Christmas season, and what better way than to start and talk about hope?
Come on.
So as I was praying and thinking about what this podcast would be, I was thinking about hope, more specifically hope, what hope in action looks like and how you can apply that to yourself and apply that to everyone around you.
So good.
So, so instead of resigning ourselves to our current situation, we can dream and build new possibilities. And that is what I call hope in action. So in this way, hope can be an energy source that's within each of us. It's a type of knowing beyond our 5 senses of touch, smell, sight, hearing, and taste. So because when we hold hope in our hearts and minds, when we hold the vision or dream of something new, better and more life-giving, we are compelled to move forward, move towards it.
So good.
So ultimately, especially in this season, Christmas season, and for the next season, next year, we have a choice to either keep hope alive or to give in to doubt and let hope fade away. Because nothing really is a waste of time. There's not a waste of time, and especially if you look into your life and what 2022 was and what 2023 could look like for you.
What's possible?
Yes. Yeah, I felt like the hope is also connected to the word possibility. With hope in action, you can take ownership of starting it out on your own.
Yes.
And so, and I was reading up on different kinds of stuff about hope, and I'm reminded, I don't know, I may be dating myself here, but I don't know if you guys knew who Christopher Reeve is. Like, he is one of the original Superman.
Yeah, he's the original. OG.
He's the so I was researching about him. Christopher Reeve said this: once you choose hope, anything is possible. And if you don't know, Christopher Reeve was best known for his role as Superman. And and obviously, when we look at our superheroes or characters that these actors play on screen, like, we're like, wow, like they can do anything, right? But Christopher Reeve had a spinal cord injury in 1995, and he knew the power of hope. And hope helped him endure that injury. It was caused by an injury caused by a competitive horseback riding incident in 1995, and the accident left him paralyzed from the neck down, and he was unable to breathe without a ventilator. But in spite of this traumatic, life-changing event, he made a deliberate choice to be productive, which gave him hope. And out of that, he started the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation with the goal of finding a cure and advancing the quality of life for people living with spinal cord injuries.
And
I'm like, wow, like I could only imagine, like, the type of devastation, after having that type of accident.
Right.
I'm not sure, like, like maybe you guys can think about, like, what's the some devastating challenges that you faced this past 3 years, actually, and to turn that hope into action, allowing yourself to partner with what could have been and what happened and what could have been. And then partnering that with what I call the hope that's living inside of you. Everybody has that, and I felt like God can turn that hopeless situation into something magnificent and amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
I love it.
So anyway, aside from doing that, like, I also found out, babe, that he continued to nurture his creative side by directing a television movie after. And then he also starred and directed in a movie remake playing event-dependent quadriplegic.
So that's a tough one.
Christopher Reeve chose hope, and it made all the difference in continuing to achieve greater things. All of that to say that devastating things that could happen in our life, it doesn't make your story end that way.
Right. So it's interesting. The topic of hope.
Yes.
Is I remember from a mentor. This is one of his big topics, and he defined hope as the joyful expectation of something good.
Yes.
And what's tricky here is, like, with this story with Christopher Reeve,
right?
He had a difficult situation that happened. Basically, his personal freedom was all taken away, where he could only move his head. And once you have something and then you don't have it anymore, that could be very discouraging. You can feel despondent. Your life destroyed. How do you move back into a place of living or thriving, which is why we call our program what it is, Thriving One. How do you move back into a place of thriving? Because life is full of uncertainty, difficulties, pain, right? And so how do we live prisoners to that? Or do we move back into and learn how to cultivate hope? How do we set our joyful expectation of good when it's like, man, it doesn't seem like anything good is happening in my life?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the key things, that's why Matt and I do what we do, and we usually talk about things with our clients. Like, especially for me, one of the things that I invite my clients into this conversation is what can you do and what will you do?
Right.
Or the difference between making a list of what are the areas in this particular seemingly hopeless situation? What can you do? Like what's in your control, and then a list of what are things that it's not in your control.
Right.
You know, because sometimes most of the anxiety doesn't really come from things that we can control, because we know we can do something about it. You know, most of the anxiety and the depressive state that we put ourselves in is on the list of what we cannot control. And these are things like if it involves another person to make a decision, and because we as human beings, we like stability, you know, there's safety in stability, and there's safety in something that we can control. So we stress out on the list on this side, you know. And so one of the practical ways that I use this on my own too, but mostly my clients really get something out of it is when I have them tear that paper in half, you know, and I have them keep the list that things that they can control, meaning that they can do something about it. And then the list that, okay, I wish I could control this, but I cannot because it involves another person's will or any situation. Then I have them take a look at that list and say goodbye to that list. And say either, you know, they let go, or either they throw it in the trash or they burn it, depending on how extreme they are. And they're not allowed to pick that back up again. And now the anxiety leaves that situation, and now you can focus on what you can do.
It's like a reprioritization of what you can do. And like bring it into awareness so you can actually start making progress towards hope.
That's
to your future.
Oh, that's good. Making progress towards hope. Like that could be a book title.
Boom.
which is what we're talking about today. Like, you know, because hope is not just a feeling that you feel. It is something. It's like love, you know, love in action. It starts out with something that, man, like I have this strong feelings, but it is really so key to put movement towards love, towards hope. You know, what does that translate to? And it's not just like, you know, because sometimes I guess, like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but I've felt this before, like especially when you're an extreme person and you're like, something grand has to happen, you know, a grand gesture of love, a grand gesture of hope. But sometimes the gestures of love and hope are really those daily little things that you do for yourself, and for your spouse, for your children, for the people around you.
It's interesting you said that hope isn't just a feeling, but it is like to experience hope, there's actually something you have to do to cultivate it, right? Because love, when we look in scripture, it says love is patient, love is kind. So to produce love, to cultivate love, there's an action you have to take. And I would say that love is a difficult thing. But when you do the right thing, so kind, patient, honoring others, respecting yourself and others, then it'll produce that sense of love, safety, and a centeredness, a harmony, a peace. And then the same thing with hope. How do we cultivate hope?
Yeah. So that's a good question, leading into like some more practical ways, you know, like what does hope in action look like? You know, because we all can use hope to embrace our future. You know, like looking at our future with a lens of hope is so helpful, you know, and by building this inner strength with practice, it becomes innate, like brushing your teeth, you know. At first it's like, maybe you're trying to learn how to drive a car, you know. I know it was awkward for me and time consuming to when I first learned how to drive here in the United States, you know. And now I don't think about it, like, because I've practiced driving and I practiced that, like I go drive. I don't think about like, okay, I need to open the car and look at my rear view mirror and all those things. Like I just do it. You know, so here are a few ways, you know, that hopefully that you could take away from, and where you could practice hope, you know, whether you're experiencing a hard time or whether you're actually now feeling a lot of hope and you're like looking for ways like, how do I practically express this hope in action? So one of the ways that this is pretty simple. One of the ways is express your feelings. So during a setback or loss, it can be truly healing to express your feelings to a loved one, or if you're not a a verbal processor, you can write them down in a journal.
Right.
Because by doing this, this helps release the negative emotions or the red light emotions that are causing you to feel less hopeful. Because when you feel those emotions arise, this is what Matt and I actually like encourage our clients: try not to judge them. Especially when you're we call it the red light emotions, the negative emotions arise, try not to judge them. Rather, shift your attention to the future.
Right.
Shift your attention also to now, like, asking like, why am I feeling this way? And walking yourself through that process. And therefore, you can also shift your attention to the future. Like, what I like to do, can I plan a trip? I like to doing that, and Matt, sometimes, I don't know, he can probably share what he does, although it may not be easy to do this right away. Each time you think about what's possible, you will feel a rise in hope.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so key. It's funny how we're not, as a society, we're not in tune to our emotions, or we don't understand how to translate what our emotions are telling us, and then how to meet them where they're at. But it's kind of like, when you're in a hopeless situation, those emotions keep you trapped there in that, reminding you of the discouraging situation, until you give attention to them and actually be with them. And not be with them to stay with them, because they're going to be there anyways, but until you acknowledge and validate, because that's a form of love. Love is this essence of reaching out and being kind to how you're feeling, what you're feeling, because it's always difficult when you're expressing how you feel to someone, and even in our relationship, when we're frustrated or something like that, if we're not being in tune to recognizing how to be with each other, to acknowledge and validate what we're feeling, it becomes even more frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
And it kind of gets all built up. So the acknowledgement and the validation of what you're experiencing and going through, to yourself in a journal, to a coach or counselor, those are key elements to letting yourself move on.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, even in the Christian world, our culture, like, it really is important to have a mentor, have someone, or not just a mentor. They're pretty obvious, like mentor, but also like have a peer, like, or someone that you can trust your hope with, because I think, like, when you mentioned hopeless, sometimes it's not just like I'm hopeless, where hope is less.
Right.
When I heard you say that, like, hopeless, like, sometimes it's not like a hopeless situation that you can't do anything about. Sometimes it's just like hope.
You're deficient.
The hope, there's less hope,
Right.
So practicing those, expressing your feelings, whether through a friend or through your journal, it's really key for your self-care. Like, you're taking care of yourself, and you're acknowledging the things that you're like, hey, I feel hopeless about the situation. And sometimes we have blind spots, and that's why having a mentor, having a coach, Matt and I do that for our clients, for our students. We're just here to give you a different perspective, and maybe something like, oh, have you thought about this? Have you looked at it this way? So it's key, and not just doing it on your own. Sometimes it's great to have between you and the Lord, but there's also like this great strength and in community, whether that community is one person. All it takes is another person that could speak into your life and listen.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. And the next one, this is one of my favorites, is look for hope in unexpected places. So this is how I would describe it. Did you ever catch a glimmer of hope from somewhere unexpected? That's a great question. Perhaps you were sitting in a park with your dog, and you saw two people laughing and then embracing, and then suddenly your singlehood felt a little brighter, and take a good look around you. Hope is in our playgrounds, like when we take our daughters to our daughter, we have one daughter, in our playgrounds, and they're at the coffee shops. I know, Matt goes to coffee shops once a week and stuff. And sometimes they're in the books that we read, in our friend's voice, in our mother's caring words. Create a challenge today to look for hope in your daily routine.
Yeah.
And I bet you that you'll notice your spirits lifting up. So this is what we were talking about, like not just like the grand gesture of hope, but the daily stuff,
Yes.
the unexpected places, maybe going outside and looking at something, looking around. Sometimes like it's good to sit down and look outside and see like, oh, maybe you can find hope in action somewhere.
It's like finding beauty, right?
Yes, exactly.
So if I'm hopeless, it's hard for me to see beauty because I'm so consumed with discouragement of a hopeless situation or experience, where it's like you're being with your emotions, you're supporting them, and then you're shifting the story.
Yes,
right?
I like that.
Because that's what's going on within us, is all experiences are summed up in stories that are within our head. So if I have a hopeless situation, or I'm in a situation that hasn't changed, be it your health, be it relationship, be it financial, be it job, etc. It's like, oh, will this ever change? Now, that constant story turning around and around keeps you stuck. And that's kind of one of the biggest things that we deal with in working with and supporting clients is they have this experience of feeling stuck. And sometimes you need someone with a skill set to help you move out of that stuckness. Right. And so how do we get out of that story? And what Lindsay was talking there is just, it's great, is like, shift the story and start observing. And there's a saying, what I focus on, I become. And so it's so key that we be with ourselves in the pain, and then we shift into support and care and look into basically, it's interesting when you look up or when you're in nature, there's a creativity that gets sparked within you internally. And what that can do is helps you see the future. Because when I have hope, the reason I can have a joyful expectation is because my story looks beyond where I'm at in the now and looks into the future, that there is a future. And even with Mr. Reeves, that he had a situation, he's stuck in it. He can't do anything except for move his head. Right. So, but how did he shift into a place of doing great things that he did? Well, he shifted into a story, like what you said, what can I do? And looking for the joy that is there, because if you can see, that is amazing. If you can hear, that's amazing. I would just imagine if not just my mobility was taken away, but my sight or my hearing or my taste or something was taken away, there's things I can find, and I choose to focus on those things I can control. So that I can continue to experience the wealth that is at my fingertips, or at my tongue tip. If I'm tasting something good.
That's amazing. Like the shift. I think the word shift was key in there. Like, from acknowledging and validating to now, like, what can I do to shift from here to there? That's the movement from hope in action. That's really good. Okay, the third one, another practical thing that you can do, something simple, is practice gratitude.
Yes.
I know, saying this, I know it's cliche, as cliche as practicing gratitude may sound, it can really make you more hopeful.
Yes.
Thinking about
it does.
It does, like in that list again, like what you can control and what you can't control. Now you have an opportunity. You can think about all that you are grateful for. When you think about that, it puts things in a new perspective. Like what Matt was saying earlier, the shift, which naturally makes you more hopeful. So you can practice gratitude by, and I do this once in a while with myself and with the girls that I mentor. I tell them you can practice gratitude by writing down daily 3 to 5 things you are grateful for in a journal.
Right.
And alternatively, you can also think grateful thoughts before you start or end your day. I
right.
do that with Madison, and
Mhm.
it's really beautiful to see her shift from
Yes.
no matter what her day is. Because I don't know if you've had this conversation with her, because like she could start her day really great, like Matt would
It's the
take her
best day
ice cream
ever.
and do this, and everything's about her. And one little thing at the end of the day, if she doesn't get her way, she ends up like, even though she's
I can't
had
have one more
yes,
Oreo cookie.
so instead of like Matt's done this, I did this, like
Right.
it's like this is the best day ever. And then one thing at night that she doesn't get, she'll be like, this is the worst day ever. I mean, she's 6. She's gonna be 7 soon. She'll be 7. Yes, yeah.
Week.
So this week, yeah, this week. So
exciting.
Gosh, but so now I practiced that with her. In ending the day with hope. And she ends up praying, thanking Jesus, thanking me, thanking Matt, thanking everybody for the great day that she had.
Yes.
And so it gives her hope. And I always say this to her at night, like, sweet dreams. I'll see you tomorrow. And the voice that I know that she's ending her day with hope, even if not everything worked out, she'll be like, thank you, mommy. I love you. Sweet dreams too. I'll see you tomorrow.
That's awesome.
So good. It's not something like grand gesture, but it is just practicing those gratitude, so you could either write down 3 to 5 things you are grateful for in a journal, or you can start or end your day with something that went the highlight of your day to encourage you. So
no, that's so good. That's one of one of the most important things I teach my clients is just what I call, how are you a hero that day, or how are you, how was your day great? How was it good? It's just, they say the way you go to sleep is the way that you wake up. Right. And so focusing in on the celebration, I this is one of the ways I do it, is celebrating what went well that day, what you were grateful for. And not even that, when I start to feel like I'm getting into the funk of hopelessness or overwhelmed or discouragement, I acknowledge and validate what I'm feeling, and then I move into supporting myself, which simply means to me is, Matt, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. And then looking into the future, and man, I'm so grateful for X, Y, and Z. I remember before I got my dream car several years ago for my 40th birthday from my lovely wife. We at one point only had one car. Remember that for like 8 years we had one car that we shared when we came off the mission field and we're getting established and everything. And I really desired this lofty dream, this car that was way outside of our affordability at that time. And I would just thank God for this car that we had, the car that I barely fit in. I'm 6'5", right? Like the seat had to go all the way down and had to be leaned back for me to fit in it. We have an extreme height difference in car. She goes the seat all the way up, all the way forward. And I remember talking to a friend and we were just chatting about it. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, I would love to have this car, but I'm grateful for the one I have now. And I just remember him saying, it was impactful. He's like, that's such a great mindset. And it's so key to attracting it's our faithing into that space, because we're called to live in peace. We're called to live in hope, but sometimes it takes the work of us moving forward and practically doing something. And, we're really fighting for being present now and being present with God. And when you're present with God, you experience peace. And peace is one of those signs of moving into hope, because that's where God is. He's in that reality of he's providing for us. He's there for us. He's with us. But can we be aware? And gratitude moves us into awareness of his provision of what you have already, which is key, and what he will have in the next time. You don't know what you need tomorrow, but he does, and he's going to meet that need. So us partnering with that, and in scripture, I think is it Psalms 100 verse 4? I believe it's somewhere in there. It says, enter his presence with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. So he's teaching us in that to focus into the place of peace, which is gratitude. Anyways, I can keep talking about it. I love that.
That's awesome. We love that, and obviously there's so many more things that you can practically do, but I'm gonna go to this one because I know he likes this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So this is like one of the ways, one of the ways that you can practice hope in action is that if you are an outdoors person, creative,
Yeah.
going outside to look at nature. We briefly talked about that earlier. Going outside to look at nature is one of the ways that you can practice hope in action. Because, have you ever looked at a sunrise, sunset, and you just felt a rise of hope? I do. Like when we went to Hawaii this summer, I was just looking at the sunrise, more like sunset.
Sunsets, yeah.
So beautiful. And it almost like took away like all of the stress and all of the worries and cares of that week, that month. And I was like, wow, nature really has a way of doing that for us.
Yeah.
We see that no matter what, no matter what, because no matter what, the sun and the moon will always appear. Right. Like it's like they're constant.
Yeah.
And the birds sing, grass grows, and the seasons change. So we can also rely on a new day to bring us a fresh start.
Yeah.
Like there's always, it's a new day the next day, a chance to make a change and get it right. And sometimes say what needs to be said. And what better way to practice hope than to marvel at nature's beauty.
Yeah. It's interesting. Nature, just being outside, seeing long distance actually psychologically does things within you. If you're inside all the time, if you're in front of a computer all the time, if you're, when you're worried about something, you kind of enclose, but when you're outside, you can take in that you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And this is like this hope, the beauty around you, like she said, sunsets. It moves you into this place of gratitude. It's like God is like positioning us to be successful in every way. He knows exactly what we need. We just need to participate with that.
Yeah.
And I know for me, most every morning I go on a walk outside. It's one of the ways that I reset. It's one of the ways that I hold love for myself and say, hey, I need this. It's a way that I exercise. And there's all these elements that help cultivate the internal world and the physical world to move our chemical side of us, our physical being, our psychological side into a place of partnering with God's peace and his reality. Little things, but they're actually so key and so helpful.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love all what we've discussed. There's so many. So now you're gonna be like, oh, okay, there's many. Now your wheels, hopefully, or your head is thinking like, oh gosh, there's so many ways that we can put hope in action, starting with ourselves and then starting with the people around us and even looking outside, like what Matt said, the longevity, like you can see hope, you can see
looking into the future.
Yeah. So it brings us to the next one, and this is one of the things that I love doing. Is doing random acts of kindness.
Yes.
So why is this important? Because kindness now gives hope to others. For example, paying for someone behind you at a drive-through can start your day in a hopeful manner. I don't know about you, but I have been both the giver and the receiver at the same time. Like I've paid for somebody's meal behind me and somebody's paid for my meal in front of me. And man, I feel so good after, and so I just want to conquer the world in a good way, like bring world peace or something, you feel good. And so does the person behind you receiving your kind gesture. So basically any act of kindness, it doesn't have to be like monetary. It can just be a smile. It can be a compliment. Any act of kindness will give a rise in hope for the receiver and a giver. Why is this? Because it helps reinstill our faith in the goodness of each other, one another. Like there's so many information out there,
and there's good in the world.
That there is, like, depending, like what Matt said, the shift on your focus can help you realize and recognize that there is good and there is hope around us.
So true. I was just saying that I like, and I'll shift it here, but the saying that I think about is when you give people love, they can do lovely things. Doesn't mean that they will, but there's a shift that you bring into a situation
Mhm.
where if someone doesn't deserve something and you give
Mhm.
it to them, there's
Yeah.
a shift out of the red light state, be it red light
Yes.
thoughts, red light emotions, and we
Mhm.
can now experience, we can taste. I like
Yeah.
what Psalms said, David says, taste and
Taste.
see that the Lord is good. Like we give a taste.
Mhm.
We shine a piece of who God is, and
Mhm.
more specifically love and hope. Like
Yeah.
we bring that. And
Yes.
I know it's I keep talking about the psychological side, but
But that's good.
even
Yeah.
when
Yep.
I do something good for somebody, it
Mhm.
makes me feel
Mhm.
good
Yep.
because there's something that I've done outside of me. So I'm
Mhm.
getting outside of the story of
Yep.
discouragement, and now I'm with somebody
Yep.
and giving them support, giving them help. And it actually
Mhm.
shifts me out of the story that I'm stuck in. Because that's the issue.
Oh, that's
Stuck in a
so
story. Stuck. What can I do? There's nothing I
Mhm.
can do about it. That's right.
Mhm.
There's certain things you can't do anything, but there's so much
Mhm.
I can do.
That's right. I
Mm,
love that. What I can do, what you can control.
right.
Ooh, wow. Well, the last one, and this is also important, I saved this for last, is one of the hope in action that you can do is take some time for self-care.
Hmm.
So I know that we've given you some other options where you can reach out to other people, do something for others, but hope in action is also taking some time for self-care. Because taking care of ourselves can be a challenge sometimes,
Yeah.
especially during hard times, when if you've lost a job, a job loss or you getting fired, however that
Hmm.
plays out, it can shake our confidence, your
Yeah.
confidence. We can blame ourselves for a mistake that we made that caused something unfortunate to happen. And this is when we most need to practice self-care.
Yeah.
Because some ways to do this are to notice your what I would call negative self-talk.
Right.
There is some sort of it's kind of like a tricky situation because you need to acknowledge obviously how you feel, like the number one thing we talked about earlier is express your feelings, but negative self-talk can be so damaging to
Yes.
your self-confidence that you already have less self-confidence because of the situation.
Right.
Especially I'm talking to you people who are so hard on yourselves, like you are
Yeah.
your own worst critic. So I'm
Mm.
talking especially to you, and when you notice that, you can work to change it. Believe in yourself and your capabilities, and engage in self-care by meditating on the word,
Hmm.
reading a book that you like, taking a vacation. That's my favorite. And then you can
Getting a massage.
getting a massage,
Going
just
for a walk.
going for a walk.
Taking a long hot bath.
Yes. Exercising
Yeah.
and eating better. And
Yeah.
then finally, there's one thing too that I like to do, and I like to do this with my clients, is visualize,
Visualize. That's what you should do.
visualize,
I like it. It's a new phrase.
the life. Oh yeah, that could be visualize the life, life
Yes.
you want, and commit to making it happen, which
Hmm.
can increase hope.
Right. Because you're going into the state of dreaming.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
joyful expectation of good. So you're expecting something good instead
Yeah.
of staying in the cycle of expecting the negative thing. Well, you're
Hmm.
going to keep getting that.
Yeah.
So having this forward thinking, and as
Hmm.
Lindsay's talking about self care, I know that could be a dirty word for a lot of
Hmm.
Christians, and
Yeah.
it could sound selfish, but it's more
Right.
about, I like to use the word personal care, or what I call
Yes.
holding love for yourself.
That's good. That's another
If
word
we're
for
supposed
it.
to love others as we love ourselves, then how am
Hmm.
I actually then allowing myself to hold God's love long
Hmm.
enough to
Right.
have something of quality to give away?
Yep. That's really good. Really good.
Mm.
Ah, wow. So, we've given you so many practical things
Yes.
now, like
Yes.
trying to recap everything. So, number one, learn to express your
Mm.
feelings. Number two, look for hope in unexpected places. Number three, practice gratitude. And then number four, go outside to look at nature. Number five, do a random act of kindness. Number six, take some time for
Personal care.
personal care,
Yes.
holding
Love.
love, so
Mm.
you can love others as you love yourself.
So good.
Right.
So good.
And so, by we're gonna end with this. Now, by making a choice to hope, you put yourself in control of how you respond to your circumstances and how you'll handle what comes next.
So good.
Although it's not so easy when going through a bad situation to maintain a hopeful disposition, always know that you can always draw upon hope to see things in a new way.
Yeah.
So our encouragement to you is choose a practice from above. I'm not even saying all 6, but if you're like, I want to do all 6, you have permission to do that. But, maybe choose 1 or 2 from above, and let us know how you did by leaving a comment, because we would love to hear from you and how it's working for you, especially during this time of Christmas holiday
Yes.
season.
May you be hope-filled.
Yes.
And a hope practicer. And we just thank you guys so much for listening and being with us today. We love you guys. It is our passion to be able to equip people to be who they're called to be, to experience the fulfillment and the love. So we bless you guys, and may you have a phenomenal week. And until next time, we love you. See you then.